So this year I'm trying to work through my 3.5 kilogram stash of yarn. I've looked at knitting and crochet patterns and projects that I think would make good use of it, but what else could I do with it? Hi, I'm Emma of Wonder and Create with Emma, and in this week's episode I'm looking at alternative uses for leftover yarn that aren't knitting and crochet projects. If, like me, you've decided that this is the year that you're going to try and work through your yarn stash, or at least reduce it as much as possible, but you have some yarn that you just know that you're not going to use or you're not going to go back to, this video might be helpful to you as well. If this is the first video of mine that you're seeing, but you're interested in this topic, you might want to go back and check out my other leftover yarn series, after you've watched and liked this one, of course. And if you've been watching this series so far, but you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did, because I'm going to be spending this year working my way through my yarn stash, so there will be a few more of these videos as the years go on, both checking in of how I am working through my stash, as well as sharing project ideas as I come and find them. And if you have already subscribed, thank you, I'm super happy you're here. I actually have had a lot of new people join since I started this leftover yarn series, so hello, I'm happy that you're here. So as I was saying, at the beginning of this year, I went through my yarn stash. I think I have a relatively small stash, and after my review, I weighed it all. It came in at 3.5 kilograms, which doesn't seem too much, and it is pretty much all contained in one tub. However, I just get the feeling that it's something that if I don't make use of it, it is just going to grow and grow and grow. A lot of the yarn in my stash is leftover yarn rather than like new skeins of yarn. There is some of that, but I'd say the majority of it is like a half ball here, a kind of small amount there from different projects and patterns that I've done. So I really just want to work through it. I don't know if I'll get it down to 0 kilograms. I'm not sure that's realistic, but I want to make the most of it. So as I mentioned in this week's episode, after looking at knitting and crochet patterns I think would be good for leftover yarn projects, I'm now looking at what else I could do with it to really help me reduce it, but not let it go to waste just by throwing it away, because there's plenty of other uses for it out there, as we'll get through in this video. So I tried to separate my ideas into sections. As usual, they're kind of fairly broad, vague sections, just to kind of group them in some way. But I'll talk it through as I'm working through all the different ideas. Right, so my first category for this is going to be decorations. So this could be decorations for your home, for your car, for yourself. I'll break it down into different ideas, but the overall genre kind of that I picked for this was decoration. So first up, pom-poms, a really fun project. Get yourself a pom-pom maker. I got this from Michael's, I think it was a set of 2. Oh, that's broken by its side. You break it open, and you wind the yarn around each side. You cut the yarn and a pom-pom is created. So just pick any yarn you want, obviously it's any weight. You don't have to have a pom-pom maker like this. You can cut cardboard in a certain way and wind the yarn around the cardboard. There's definitely lots of tutorials online for that, and it's something that I used to do before I got a pom-pom maker, but this is quicker and more effective. So you wind the yarn around until this kind of half or like rainbow shape is full. Do the other side, cut around, you wrap around some yarn around it to keep all the pieces together, and then your pom-pom is made. You could obviously use it as a bobble for the top of a hat. You could add it to the ends of blankets, have it as a kind of accessory to a bag, just dangling off the zip or something like that. Or even just a real fun decorative headband, like lots and lots of pom-poms. I've kind of seen them at festivals and stuff, and they look like quite a fun headwear accessory. But yeah, you can just make loads and loads of them. Have a chain of them, pop them around the walls. I could probably put them on the fireplace here. Yeah, real fun, easy thing to make. One, if you have kids as well, they're kind of good fun to make. I guess you could have them on a Christmas tree and stuff like that. But yeah, a really easy way to get through a lot of yarn, because they do take up quite a bit of yarn. And you can combine lots of the yarn colours. I've seen people online that make kind of like Christmas pudding looking ones, because they've combined like the brown and the white yarn in a certain way. Maybe that's a bit more skill, but I think there's lots of tutorials, so that's one way to have a lot of fun. And in a similar vein is tassels. So I did go through a phase a few years ago of making my own earrings, and I actually did like pursue for a little while, like making my own like clay, air dry clay earrings that I sold on Etsy. I got a bit bored of it and just like the making of the stuff. I prefer the designing patterns for knitting and crochet, but it was kind of fun while it lasted. But outside of the air dry clay earrings, I also made tassel earrings as well, because I just had a lot of cotton yarn from a previous crochet project that I'd done. And again, tassels are super easy to do. You're just kind of winding some yarn together, tying it up at one end and cutting across the bottom and like trimming it to size. So again, these could be used to decorate the end of a blanket that you've just knit or crochet. As I say, I made them into earrings. I bought some like rings, or you can buy like other hook style metalware in somewhere like Michael's and add the tassels to them, and they can make really fun earrings. I do have one here. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the pair, but this is an example of earrings that I have made. So I just had the kind of clay piece there, and then I added a tassel to it, although it has been sitting in a drawer, so it's not particularly neat right now, but you get the idea. I really like them. I think they're fun. So maybe I'll be making some more tassels. I have got quite a bit of cotton yarn in there, so I'll have to have a look into that. I think tassels could also make a great keychain as well. I'm kind of lacking a good keyring on my set of keys, so I think a big colourful tassel would really help me find them, because that's an issue I quite often have. And another craft I tried out specifically for the purpose of this video was kind of yarn wrapped letters. I've had varying success with this, but I just wanted to try it out as I was researching things that you could do with leftover yarn. I saw this as an idea, and I think it could have the potential to look really stylish. Mine not so much. To make my letters, I just got an old like bubbly box and cut out some letters and got some cotton yarn that I had and just wrapped them around. I'll show you my attempt. So I went for W and C for Wonder and Create. The C, not too bad. Is that the right way for you? Yeah, I think it looks kind of cool. Maybe a little flimsy. I used tape. You might need a glue gun, but I had to use tape because I don't have any like hot glue gun or anything to keep it down. But this is just a practice test. But I do think it's potential there. The W is distinctly not so great. I really struggled, as you can tell, with how to wrap the yarn around this particular section. That's a slightly more tricky shape, but maybe if you had the glue gun it would all stick a bit easier and wouldn't keep spreading around like this. Or perhaps for these tricky letterings there's a particular method to use and shaping to the letter to avoid that. But anyway, I think this has the potential. I think it could be a cute nursery idea. And maybe with some thicker cardboard it would look a bit more sturdy and great, but again, you can hang them up and that would be cool. I had fun trialing it, and it has made me think that it would be quite fun to have lettering of some sort to decorate maybe the office space with in our apartment. But yes, that's another one for decoration. And then the last one I had for decoration is wool tinsel or strinsel. I saw this online doing the rounds on social media around Christmas time a few years ago, and it is like purposely for all the leftover yarn you have. The method I'm not totally sure about. I'd have to like find a particular video that I'd seen on Instagram and I'll put it in the description below. But it looked like you're kind of winding the yarn around cardboard, I guess a bit like a pom-pom. And there's an element of sewing to it to kind of keep all that yarn together. You're sewing across along the middle of it once you've wrapped all the yarn around the cardboard, cutting the ends and removing the cardboard, and it creates this like tinsel looking thing, but it's made of yarn or string or cotton, you know, whichever yarn you want. But it looks super fun, and there's all sorts of colours you could do, so it doesn't, although I saw it around Christmas time, I guess it doesn't have to be for Christmas time. And that's like another great use of the yarn that you have, mixing all the colours together. I think weight of yarn wouldn't be an issue here either, so I really recommend checking that one out because I think that would be a very fun project. The next genre was finishing touches, so kind of like decoration I suppose, but it's just adding that extra embellishment to a piece. For example, embroidery. So I've seen on Pinterest or even in stores a lot of like children's like knitted or crochet sweaters then have like embroidery lettering put on them, like with quite a bulky yarn, which I guess you could just hold like lots of strands of yarn to do. But this like really cool swirly lettering of a name or a word. And I think that looks like a great kind of final stylish touch to a handmade garment. So if you were knitting a jumper for a child, you could add their name on with embroidery, using up some other yarn you have in a contrasting colour, and it just looks to me like store-bought and very cool. I'm not sure on my embroidery techniques, to be honest, but if you're an embroiderer, I think you should be doing that because it looks so cool. And then the other finishing touch is gift wrapping. So, you know, you could use yarn instead of ribbon. You could use multiple strands, one strand, just wrap it around. I've definitely done this before for wrapping presents at Christmas and for birthdays, like using yarn in place of a ribbon. It can look quite stylish and effective and kind of chic depending on colour you use or how you use it. Yeah, I really like that. I was trying it out just for this video, so I'll have a video going over the top of this just so you can see. I think this is another like really simple, easy use of your stash, especially if there's some that you maybe want to get rid of. You can use it just gifting it to other people and then they decide what they want to do with that yarn. Another option is keeping all the leftover bits of yarn and using it as stuffing. So either if you have like a huge ball of yarn that you don't think you're going to use, you don't like the colour or whatever, you just don't think you'll use it, maybe you can use it as stuffing instead. But I think when I'm talking about stuffing, I'm more thinking of if you're collecting the ends that you cut from finished projects or from swatches, etc. You could use them to stuff cushions, stuff toys. If you have lots of tiny little ends that you've been keeping because you're trying to take more of a zero waste approach, so you're keeping all the ends of like scrappy bits of yarn, they could be used to stuff those tiny amigurumi toys. I'm never sure if I pronounced that right. They're kind of perfect for that. I've been starting a jar just this year to keep my ends in. So that each time I snip a bit off, I put it in the jar. And that either means I'm going to have a collection of scrap yarn that I can use for stuffing, or it's just going to be a really colourful, arty piece that I can display and have on my shelf here, just full of bits of scrappy yarn, covering like the history of my projects that I've made this year, I guess. Another way to use your yarn is to donate it and recycle it, and one way to donate it is see if there's any free fibre libraries in your area. In Vancouver there's quite a lot called like free fibre libraries. Some of them are run by yarn stores, others just people have put up in their neighbourhood, and you can basically, like the little book ones you might see, you can put your yarn or your notions, your needles, hooks, whatever in there, and people can just take them. It's like a swap, you can donate, you can take, free for everyone. They're really great. So I'm just going to, I'm on my way to show you what one looks like now. So these fibre libraries are just free. You can donate what you want and take what you want. So this one has some balls in it. But I've seen others with like books in them, needles. So this is by Bad Anna's. Yeah, so they're kind of cool. And I think I went at XOXO Fibre. There was a store that actually had little instructions of how to set up your own free fibre library. If you're interested in doing it, have a look online. Maybe set one up where you are as well. Oh yeah, and I am wearing my Sophie hood. I don't know if I'm styling it quite right. I just threw it on because it is so cold today. I finished it yesterday, so I haven't even washed and blocked it yet. I'm hoping the hood might grow because it's feeling a bit small, but we'll see. But I will be talking about that in a future vlog episode. Keeping on that topic of donating, I'd also group that into donating and recycling. Not only are there free fibre libraries that you can donate to, but obviously thrift stores, charity shops, whatever you want to call them, they're there. I've definitely bought yarn and like needles and stuff from thrift stores before, so that's an option. And then going to knit nights. Now that I'm going to knit nights, I realise that's an opportunity to do yarn swaps. We had at my knit night something at Christmas where you were doing like notions swapping, which was kind of fun. So you'd give away a couple of notions, you'd get some new ones back, which was very exciting. But more often than not, people also came in with a bunch of yarn as well. And I think even if that wasn't like a arranged, organised swap, you could still like bring your yarn in, and I'm sure someone else there would love to take it. Someone in the comments of my last video also mentioned that they have given their yarns to schools for kind of craft activities, so that's another great idea. And then finally, I think there are some yarn companies, there's only one that I know of, but there's probably others out there that will take scraps of yarn to combine it into their own yarn. So Hedgehog Fibres actually has a scheme where you can donate to them your unwanted yarn, or like even the tiny little scraps of yarn, and they'll put it into their tweedy wool that they make. And as a thank you for doing that in return, if it's over 200 grams, you get a certain percentage of discount on their yarn, depending on how heavy your donation has been. And I think this is such a great idea. They're based in the UK, so you would be mailing to the UK. It might be worth researching if there's some in your country or local area. But I really love that idea because it means also that the yarn is really unique because it's made of so many different scraps from people's donations all around. As I mentioned for the stuffing, if you're keeping like a jar to put all your little scraps in, you could then, once it's full, just mail it away to Hedgehog Fibres, or if it's over 200 grams, save it till it's over 200 grams worth and then mail it away to get a discount on your yarn. So yeah, definitely something to bear in mind. Okay, so that's all my ideas. To summarise, the topics I had were decoration, finishing touches, stuffing, donating or recycling. Of course, there's also other yarn-based crafts like punch needling and weaving and macrame to try. They'd all be new crafts to me, and don't get me wrong, I would love to try them out one day. But I hope this has given you some ideas for alternative uses for yarn if you don't want to see your yarn go to waste, or you simply don't want it taking up any more space in your home. As usual, if you have other ideas, I would love to hear them, so please share them in the comments below. As I've already mentioned, I'm planning to work my way through my yarn stash through 2025, so keep watching and follow and subscribe to me so you can see where I'm at as the year goes by. I might have some more videos like this in mind where I share some other ideas for yarn uses, whether it's knitting and crochet or alternatives like this video. For next week's episode, I'm shifting up a little bit. I'm moving away from looking at leftover yarn and I'm thinking about travel. So I'm going to be looking at travel destinations that I think are great for fibre artists and crafters. So if that sounds interesting to you and you're planning some trips for 2025 or even 2026, stay tuned and I'll be sharing my ideas in the next week's episode. I'll see you there. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode and I'll see you again soon.